Alright, hello YouTube. We are back with another game review slash analysis. This time it's for Mr. Shakara! And his Nova Cup game, or one of his Nova Cup games yesterday. He's playing with Snow against Dan Wolf and Valas. And he suggested this game, and then when I had prepared this one, he told me to pick whatever game I wanted, but obviously I had just prepared this one, so I'm not going to swap because I'm a lazy bastard. Okay, so let's talk about roles first. This is our initial role with Kingsguard, and I think this is one of the roles that is very hard to play in the early game. Um, You can obviously go for like a classic combo with like Zerka Serpent, potentially take the Sea Dragon and then do something like this, or even consider this, or yeah, whatever. I mean, you have some options, but in current meta, it's like this is not amazing, right? It's kind of stable, you can make it work, you don't have so many weak waves, and it's one of the options. The option that with current balancing is probably quote unquote best is to go for a Pipsqueak starter just because it's so good. But then you're forced to take Angler because you need some fortified tanks and you're not gonna get out the Antler, so you have to pick this. Then you can consider obviously picking Serpent. I think Shakara went for this, which is fine as well. You can consider not picking the Zerka and picking Millennium. Um, but it's not ideal. Like the top end is great. Pipsqueak is very good as well. But with Pipsqueak, you kind of want to play aggressively early game around wave 3, 4, 5, 6. And Angler and, well, especially the Angler really doesn't support this playstyle. So for me, this would be pick a role like this. Probably exactly this role. Maybe even this role. And then insta reroll on wave 1. Shakara ends up rerolling on like wave 4 because he's running into the issues that I just described. But yeah, it's to me it's kind of hard to play this. So maybe it would have even been more stable to pick this role. Um, but it's kind of close. Can even do this and start Zerker. But of course you really want to start Pipsqueak as it's very, very strong. So I don't blame him. Also depends what your teammate is doing. Teammate was starting gun, so I don't think there's any necessary implications for our start. Pipsqueak and Zerka are both fine with gun. Both are strong and stable on 5 and 6. So I think it's totally fine to pick either. Alright, so let's see how the game goes. I think if I start Pipsqueak with Angler in my role, I'd probably add the Angler on 1. Just because we kinda, like, again, we want to have a fortified tank for wave 5. And the only reasonable unit for wave 5 in our role currently would be the Bounty Hunter. And if we have to upgrade it with like 30 stacks, it's kinda rough. So I would suggest starting Pipsqueak with Angler in this case. Unless you happen to reroll and get like Buckler or whatever good unit you can have with Pipsqueak instead of Angler. Okay, so I don't necessarily love that our teammate is snailing here. We are Kingsguard. I think double king up is just more stable. Yeah, unless you're strongly suspecting that Dan Wolf is Fiesta, but I don't think there's a justification for this. So we got skipped on wave 1, and we still push to... Oh no, we don't push. Ah, yeah, I don't really like this. I would always push 5 workers, add 1 Peewee in the split and not add the Angler now. Now we're sort of doing the worst of both worlds, right? We stay lower push, but this Angler will die because of the Peewee, and it's a little bit meh, right? And we're king upping the casket seedling while being high value, so he can just giga push and have a lot of pressure onto our teammate. So this is why I would really not advise going for this. Either you make sure you scale your angler early, and by that I mean starting on wave 1, or don't add it on 2 and really just commit to the route where you're just pushing a lot and you're just using the angler as a fortified tank and not utilizing the stacks. Because now teammate is 5 workers, right? He's picked miner, so of course he's pushing 5. But he gets an 80 cent because Vala's pushed to 8 workers. We income king him again. Again, questionable decision to do the king up. We're planning to go 6, I guess. So it's not horrendous, but I would probably not go full income king, especially if we can't really push. And as you can see here, we have 5 stacks on the angler, right? It didn't get any stacks, so this is kind of rough. And with quite high value. But of course we have to be because he's threatening us with a 60 cent and teammate is leaking. Okay, so, but now, again, what's our good play, right? We can stay like this for wave 4, but it's a little rough what we do for wave 5. And for wave 5, we would really like to have a bounty hunter with stacks, but we can't because we managed to build an angler on wave 2 and killed it instantly. So, you know, this is where we haven't, like, okay, we have a shitty early game role. It's hard to play, but this is where it's super important to A, in my opinion, reroll early, and B, if you're not going to, make sure you know exactly what units you need on which wave. Because now we will end up with a quite weak build, which also has weak push, but it's not really scaling the angler stacks. So we've managed to combine all the weaknesses of all the parts of the builds that we're trying to combine here, instead of combining the quote-unquote strengths. Okay, so, right, we have to sell a Peewee to get a veteran here. I would not have done this. This is probably fine against most sends that you're getting. And if you're leaking small, so be it. Valas isn't super strong on 5. Especially if he builds this guy. Teammate is adding 2 Peewees. I would also probably not do this. I would like pushing 7 workers is probably fine. But if you're adding 2 Peewees here, you're very much drafting yourself into a corner. Because Gun is weak on 5 and on wave 6. It's not amazing on 4 either, but if you're getting a big resend on wave 4 and you're leaking, well, this guy is playing a weak build for wave 5, so he's kind of putting himself in a little bit of trouble if he does that, and he relieves all of our pressure for wave 5 and 6, so we can push and be fine. So I would not add these 2 Peewees, as this kind of grieves our future prospects, because these Peewees suck on 5 and 6. Okay, then wave 5 hits, like we get a snail here, but again, we can't push because our build sucks on wave 5 and our teammate is being saved on with a horrendous build. So we stay on 6 workers, push the 7th afterwards, we add a second veteran, but the second veteran is just bad on wave 6. So now we still cannot really push while we're 500 value. Teammate gets imps, adds a wanderer and leaks 60%. And now imps are the only send where the Peewees are actually useful. I think against double brute this build just completely dies. So yeah, we're kind of lucky that we got imped and not double bruted. I still think you kind of want to have, like, if you don't add these 2 Peewees, right, on wave 4, then you have 175 gold, and then you end up building 2 Windhawks, and I would not be surprised if this build against this send with 2 Windhawks leaks the same amount, but does significantly better against brutes, and it's significantly stronger on the upcoming wave 6. And you're not worried about 7 because you have Gun and Peewee. So I would really recommend doing this. What I do like is that now Shakara had quite little push, and he knows that this guy is weak on 5 and on wave 6, so he's starting to starve this guy. Good choice. And we're also kind of skipping a wave on Mr. Danwolf here, which is also good because he is under significant threat on wave 6 if he pushes, so we're kind of keeping his push in check. And then we go wave 6. We go full into Valas, which is the correct choice. I mean, he sucks. All of his units are weak on wave 6, so going full is definitely correct. Going Income King into Denwolf is correct. Let me quickly talk about the reroll soon, but first talk about this wave. I'm not sure if Mole is the correct send into a potential Sky Queen, into a mana unit here, but Double Brute is also not super appealing. Robo sends, like a lot of Robos, is also not super appealing because he still has this guy, so I think it's fine, but this is it's really sad that we could not push, right? Imagine this, okay? Just hear me out for build planning. We add the Angler on wave 1, then we add like, maybe we add the Peewee in the split. Yeah, we probably add the Peewee in the split. We then add one more Peewee here, probably push to 6 workers before the wave starts. Or just add more Peewees to be safe. And then make sure we push a little, like one more worker here. And then we have one less veteran, but we have an upgraded bounty hunter here. We have one more worker. We can now also push more. And this bounty hunter is scaling better. And then we can probably send 180 here. And I think 180 potentially with the 160 pre-income would just be a lot better. Triple Brute probably destroys this build. Mole Brute is probably also very, very good. Mimic and Pack Leader are super strong as well. So we've essentially kind of missed our Mythium threshold that we really wanted to leak this guy. Not 75%, but like 100%. I mean, I haven't tested this, but I strongly suspect that 180 cent is better than 160 cent. Wow. Brilliant take. This is really where my PhD comes in, guys. Anyway, teammate is leaking small to the double robo resend, kind of cope resend, honestly. And robos into the Peewee army. Oh, all right. Let's quickly talk about this reroll. I think we rerolled on wave 4. I should have stopped here and talked about it, but I remembered. So our reroll is this. We reroll Avenger, Gun, Crab Warlock, and Millennium. So rerolling on wave 1 wouldn't have done anything good for us. This roll is really, really hard to play. So what I would probably end up doing is going for this kind of build, where essentially we keep the Pipsqueak as a magic damage source, we keep Avenger as a swift tank, we add something for pierce damage. Sure, we have 2 Kingpins potentially, but I would have also just played 1 Angler, so I would have wanted to have a gun anyway. And Kingpins are pierce damage, but like later on they fall off quite heavily, so they aren't super strong on 17 and 19. I mean, they are decent, but not awesome. So yeah, I probably would have gone for this. Can also swap the Avenger for the Berserker, so you're a little bit heavier on the pierce damage. Can even skip gun and go for this or for this. It really depends on teammate build. Teammate has already gun, so it's probably fine to skip gun for us. Sort of scale around this build. In game, I think we went for this 1, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. I don't hate it, but I don't really know that the Crab Warlock is doing super much for us, given that we already have summoners in our build. So we kind of put ourselves in this awkward spot where we want tanks for the gates and we want tanks for the Crab Warlock, so it's a little bit rough. And the magic damage, like this is a mediocre at best magic damage unit, whereas the Pipsqueak is really great magic damage. So really, if we ever end up needing magic damage, the Crab Warlock doesn't really do much for us, whereas the Pipsqueak can. But it's all not really amazing. There's like not canonical 100%, you have to pick unit X in this reroll kind of choices. So it's kind of rough, and we have to navigate a suboptimal roll for the rest of the game, no matter what we pick. But I think not picking this unit would be an improvement. e.g. sticking with this guy. But of course, it's also our only fortified quote-unquote tank, now that we've rerolled the Angler. But again, we will have 2 Kingpins, and those are very good fortified tanks, and we can probably get away with not adding more fortified tanks. We're not necessarily expecting this game to go like super late, where we need more than 2 big fortified tanks. Okay, so wave 6 hits. This is a fine play. I really like that we're going full. I like that our teammate is going income king. Wave 7, I don't like the cope resend into Snow. Snow has not really shown a tendency to take superb risks so far. He's mostly shown the tendency to build too many peewees. And on this wave, I have to commend him. He did not build more peewees. I mean, he already had 8, right? The 9th peewee would have really probably broken me mentally. So he adds a veteran. Finally, an upgrade. Playing rather safe, but it's fine. I'm not super sure if I love this income here. I would have probably skipped and full incomed on wave 8, because this is a good way to really force him to kingpin on 8. But on the other hand, he kinda... Well, if he doesn't kingpin... Okay, here's the thing. If he doesn't kingpin on 8, right? If he's not forced to kingpin on 8, he can full push for wave 9 with his Harbinger and not upgrade the Bounty Hunter there, and then upgrade it for 10. And then he has a lot of pressure into Shakara, and I would have probably tried to protect us against such a play from Dan Wolf. Income here into Valas is probably fine, as we want to quote-unquote threaten wave 9 anyway. We get income kinged on Shakara, so I would probably just push a lot here. Shakara gets the second Bounty Hunter, which I would not do here. I would just full push and really threaten wave 9. We go income... Well, Snow goes income into Danwolf, who got the Kingpin. So even with the Fiend on 7, it was enough quote-unquote pressure to make him Kingpin, so we're happy about this. Was the correct choice. We have also built a Violet because we're expecting wave 9. Correct choice. And now, listen, like what Shakara does here now, he's going full into Valas on wave 9, and I don't like this. Why don't I like this? Well, we are sending one snail. Valas is not going to just Giga randomly push full off of a snail, I don't think. And if he just adds, he's gonna be quite high value, and we haven't pushed. If we end up being like 700-ish value on this wave, with like high push, and with the only goal to have Kingpin for 9, and go for a full league, then it's fine to go full, right? We need 200 Mythium or something, then we can potentially do something here. But we end up having only 160 Mythium, and we also send a mole into the ramping Sky Queen and the Casket Mana unit, so I don't think this is a great send. It's better now that he added this boar, which we didn't know he had. So I guess the send wasn't horrendous, but it's just too little. And this is like, you send one snail and then do like a full send without heavy push. This usually doesn't work out super well. Okay, teammate builds a second Violet here. I would have much preferred an upgraded Wanderer just to diversify our tank line, so we're not super weak against quote-unquote the same types of sends. It probably doesn't make a big difference against the 180 cent here. Mole is really not great against Violet either, so... And you should always try to counter these units, so he's doing pretty well. Okay, now we have to take into consideration the Legion spells, right? And at this point, we full send into them, and there are aggressive spells in the game, and we are kind of, like our weak wave, combined weak wave, is wave 13. So we kind of have to make certain choices that try to prevent them from going wave 13 on us. And now, I don't know, we probably should have started considering this even around wave 7, or even around the latest wave 8. and try to force like wave 10 sense or something. Because on wave 10 we are good with Big Gun and we have Kingpin on Shakara. So, but we definitely don't want to allow them to easily go wave 13. And now there are two things we can do at this point. We can either go, like given that we've sent here, right? Which I don't think is a good choice. I think it's better to skip here and like force 10 or 11 where we're decent. Anyway, we've sent here. So now what do we do? I think we can skip and still say, well, there are aggressive spells, so you don't really want to skip 11 and 12 into us. Be scared. Ooh. Right, Shakara is being saved on, but he's gonna have Kingpin. He's not gonna be super worried. Teammate is got a full send last wave. He's not super worried either. So either skip, or if you think, well, they might go wave 11 or something with the aggressive spells and really try to push now, given that we have Kingpin here, he wants to utilize the power spike. This guy's strong on 11 and 10 with the Sky Queen here and the Great Boar. There's also an argument to be made that a full resend is a decent play. Okay, this is something that you could call for in the spot just to get more gold to do better against aggressive send if they skip. But we just income king, and they end up leaking the income king, which is kind of good for us. But I still don't like this play. I think a full send is much better, and I don't see in which case this income king is really good. Like, we're not super worried here on this wave. Sure, Shakara might leak, but I mean, we might leak, but teammate is fine. We are Kingsguard as well. We have some decent attack on the king, even before these upgrades. I think this is like 4 upgrades or something. Let me count. 1, 2. Okay, it's 4 attack upgrades. Yeah, so I don't love this play. This gives Valas and Denwolf now the full freedom to pick whatever spell they want and to pick whatever line they want. And looking at Denwolf's YOLO roll, they have to end the game soon. Because this roll will fall off a cliff and be completely dogshit at the latest by wave 16. So they have to win before wave 16. And sure, Valas has a decent role, but I think these roles on the east side are very fine, and especially Kingsguard is like also a late game mastermind, because in the late game it's really all about king damage, how much can you take, and yada yada. So this Kingsguard is super good. So the West team really wants to end the game. And they have a canonical wave to pick, which is wave 13. Sure, Shakara is going to have decent value with double Kingpin, but the crap Warlock is really crap on wave 13. Kingpins suck there. Double Gun sucks there. The send will be ginormous. This is just, in my opinion, after this income send, if Valas and Denwolf just end up targeting 13, there's very little we can do. Maybe I'm wrong, and Kid K will say, no, Income King can like outscale and yada yada. Maybe he's right, I don't know. For me, this looks like a very rough spot. But what ends up happening, Shakara and Snow are being saved on, there are aggressive spells, and at this point they've kind of committed to just scaling, so they go Income King with all out assault. I think I don't like this choice. I think the blessing is insane on the big pipsqueak. Lumerian is what it's called. So I think for Shakara, it's income and then upgrade this guy. And Snow could either take the blessing for a gun, which is really good, or he can do overwork or all out assault and do king ups. So I would have really split this, because I think with the Lumerian, Shakara is not leaking here, and he's also not really leaking 12. And these king ups kind of suggest that we were super scared that we get a full send and die on wave 11. And I think even if we're worried about wave 11 dying, and even with Kingsguard and everything, I don't think double all-out assault for the king ups is really worth it, because a lot of them, like 80 Mythium is just in region upgrades. And all-out assault, sure, 120 Mythium, okay, so we end up having 2 less attacks or something than we had here. And for that we get a 20% attack speed bonus and like a 2k HP buff on a Giga carry unit for this wave. And I also think it's a big mistake to get the Kingpin here and not the Lumerian. But what I think is an even worse play is this income sent by Dan Wolf. I'm sorry, Dan. I just think it's horrible. Because what does this income send mean? And teammate is saving, right? So in which case is this income sent here very good? This is insane if Dan Wolf has a Giga carry roll. Say white main gates with egg or whatever. Yeah, I mean like carry roll where if he gets ahead, he's essentially unleakable. But he has the opposite. He has a role where even if he gets ahead, he can still leak whatever send because his role is absolute garbanzo. So why is he picking Overwork to income into Shakara on wave 11, which is also his best wave in the entire game? I don't understand it. I just don't get it. And I also don't get why Valas is picking Blessing. Uh, he doesn't have a canonical very good target for the blessing, and it's really like at this point where you've saved from 9 into you will save longer, probably target 13, you are committing to getting damage done. And let me tell you, Divine Blessing, especially if you're not using it, he's hiding it for 2 waves, is not going to help you kill the enemy. Okay? So I think this is just a very big misread of the situation by Dan Wolf and Valas trying to go for like scaling or whatever. Sure, they might be slightly ahead in power score or workers or income or whatever, but I don't think this is a spot considering the roles where you can just easily go for such an outscale play, or where you should go for such an outscaling play. And then, okay, so wave 12, Dan is pushing, he gets incomed by Snow. I don't know if this gives him any thresholds. I don't know if I love this, but I don't hate on it either. Valas is a lot under, but he's just shifting gold. And then wave 13 hits, where we go full into Valas. I think this is rather correct, because this looks like a full suicide now. And Dan manages with his amazing roll, yeah, to leak 30% to income king. This is why I'm saying he should not be the one trying to scale, by the way, because he only has fortified tanks and then some atoms, but like he has nothing good to buff. It's just bad. Shakara gets a full send. He shifted on wave 12. Very, very good decision. Good read of the situation and goes for a Doomsday. But Dan also has very little Mythium because he went for an income play on wave 11. I wanted to say income king, but he just went income. And Snow is 2700 value with a Phoenix, and he gets double 4-eye Mole. This is not the correct send, by the way. And Valas just doesn't have enough Mythium to break him because he didn't push here and because he didn't take the aggressive spell. Think into this. I'm going to show it. Seatram Centaur actually leaks this. And why is 4-eye bad? Well, 4-eye will not target the Phoenix, I don't think. And the second 4-eye just does nothing against the 7 million targets in the split. And the guns actually deal decent damage on the wave, and the Phoenix as well. And all of these units are ranged, so Ram is kind of good against them. So let's quickly look at this in Sandbox. So if you send Ram Centaur, I think this even leaks. Or at least it did when I tested, so of course now it's not gonna leak. So I look like an idiot, but that's fine. I was sniping the Centaur. I don't think this happened first time I tried. I don't know. Maybe it did. Oh, are we leaking? We might be leaking one creep. No, okay. So it's RNG. As you can see, I tried the send earlier where it leaked 33%, which is not enough, right, to justify a full send. So of course income would have been better. But just imagine we had picked like all out assault and actually committed for this with like 800 million, then we suddenly open up the RAM with a needler and say a mole or whatever. And then this will probably leak a lot, I would assume. I mean, I haven't tested this either because preparing these videos would take time and obviously I'm too lazy. Maybe it's even a Kraken into this, given that the Phoenix is the only real threat. But now the Needler goes onto the Phoenix after the split. And then suddenly you end up leaking 2 full HP creeps and a Needler. And this would, of course, be nearly game-ending damage, especially if we consider, right, Dan Wolf is sending 420 here. And if he doesn't send his 540 Mythium here, he can just send at least 800 something Mythium. Of course, he has slightly less workers because of the lower income. But let's just imagine 800 something Mythium, and he just sends a Ghost Knight or whatever into this. And Shakara has 1 unit for the wave, right? Sure, Pipsqueak, but it's a 150 gold unit. So then this guy, this is just a Giga League on Shakara. It's a decent sized league on Snow. We take like, I don't know, 60% king damage. Um, enemy team gets 1,000,000 gold, and then they have a free wave 16 against us and can win the game. This is why I don't like this send, but this is also why I really think this income send here and treatment of the situation by Valas and Dan Wolf is pretty bad, tactically speaking. Especially now, because you still end up sending on wave 13, right? I mean, after this, you kind of still go here, you go full into Snow after you've kind of committed to scaling by picking Blessing. Then you never want to go full here. You also don't want to go full into Shakara here, because you can clearly see that he has shifted gold here, right? I mean, there's no situation in which Shakara is just full pushing here. By the way, if you see this build, you can also kind of, or these builds, you can also kind of expect that the enemy is gonna expect 13 and maybe even consider like a cheeky full 12 into Snow and full resend into Shakara with overwork. I mean, at this point, you probably have to try this because wave 13 is going to be a disaster with the choices you made. But you don't realize that until wave 13, obviously. So, I guess. Yeah, and then at this point, if we just look at net worth, Snow is giga ahead, Shakara is also ahead, and the game is very rough. The game ends up ending on wave 15 because Shakara and Snow correctly identify that they want to avoid being sent on wave 16. So now it's force send on our strong wave kind of territory to easily win the game. So they just push a significant amount of workers. Dan Wolf wants to bait the send on wave 15, so he full shifts gold here. I think you kind of have to go for a place like this in a losing situation, but again here you see the weakness of the role, right? It's a 2200 value kind of thing, and you end up leaking 50% to no send because you have no tanks for your harbingers, right? So this is really rough. Baiting a send is a good play, but it's only a good play if you're so strong that you survive the baited send, and you don't. And it's not even close. Like, neither on you nor on Vala's lane. So I think this leak is kind of bad for you. And if you really sort of want to quote-unquote cope yourself that you can win the game, you have to income king on 15. But let's be real, I don't think there's any out that you have after wave 13, except like Shakara disconnecting his keyboard and Snow disconnecting on the internet or something. So yeah, I dislike the tactical choices. I think the role was hard to play. I like the wave 6 send. I don't like the wave 9 send. I dislike the income king here. I do like the income king here, considering the situation. I don't like the spell pick. What we did on wave 12 to shift is a very good play. Going full on 13, even though it didn't work, is the correct play because you don't expect him to be shifting and then building a blessing, and then forcing wave 15 is correct. So that's my rundown of the game. I hope you found this useful, and I will see you in the next video.